After Dark Stories.
Episode 9. True Crime. The Servant Girl Annihilator. Before Jack the Ripper terrorized London, before the world even had a name for what he was, there was Austin, Texas, and there was something that moved through the dark. Quiet, brutal, and completely invisible. It was 1884, and America was about to meet its first documented serial killer. Austin in 1884 was a city in bloom. The new state capitol building was under construction. Wealthy families had settled into grand houses along wide, tree-lined streets. Those families employed domestic servants, young women, mostly black, who lived in small outbuildings on the property, separate from the main house. Alone. Vulnerable. And, as it turned out, being watched. The first victim was Molly Smith. She was 25 years old. On the night of December 30th, 1884, someone entered the servants' quarters behind her employer's home, dragged her from her bed, and killed her with an axe in the backyard. Her boyfriend, Walter Spence, was found wounded nearby. He survived. He was arrested and tried. He was acquitted in 2 days, because the real killer was already hunting again. Over the next 12 months, 8 people were murdered. The pattern was always the same, always the dark of night, always a bedroom, always an axe. The killer was skilled, fast, and left almost nothing behind. Eliza Shelley, Irene Cross, Mary Ramey, just 11 years old, taken from her mother's side. Orange, Washington. Gracie Vance. Austin residents were terrified, but the city's response was fractured along racial lines. Officials assumed the killer was a black man targeting his own community. Investigators were slow to act. The newspapers were inconsistent, and the killer walked freely through the dark. Then, Christmas Eve, 1885, changed everything. 2 white women were murdered in the same night, Susan Hancock and Eula Phillips, both killed in their beds with an axe, both in respectable neighborhoods. For the first time, the whole city demanded answers, but the answers never came. Writer O. Henry, then a young man living in Austin, who gave the killer his name. In a letter to a friend dated May 10, 1885, he wrote about the servant girl annihilator who makes things lively in the dull hours of the night. He meant it darkly, sardonically. The name stuck. It has outlasted everything else about this case. 3 suspects have endured scrutiny across the years. Nathan Elgin, a 19-year-old cook who worked near the original crime scenes and was missing his little toe, consistent with a distinctive footprint found at multiple scenes. In February 1886, weeks after the final murder, Elgin was shot dead by police while attempting to assault a young woman with a knife. The PBS program History Detectives used geographic and psychological profiling in 2014 and named Elgin their primary suspect. Then there was Maurice, a Malaysian cook employed at the Pearl House Hotel, which sat at the geographic center of the murders. He came under police surveillance after the final killing and fled Austin 3 weeks later, telling acquaintances he was heading to sea. He was bound, eventually, for London. And James Maybrick, a cotton merchant from Liverpool who was living in Austin at the time. Years later, a diary surfaced, allegedly in Maybrick's hand, containing the words, Jack the Ripper. The diary's authenticity remains bitterly disputed, but Maybrick died in Liverpool in 1889, the same year the Ripper killings stopped. 3 years. The gap between Austin and Whitechapel. Enough time to cross an ocean, enough time to change a weapon and a city, and resume. No one was ever convicted of the Austin murders,